Hello and welcome back to Premier League Primetime. Sorry we've been gone for a while. All of us have been doing like finals exams, and including our guests here. I am absolutely delighted to have this guy on the show, the man behind OGYB podcast, and shout out Spencer as well. Can't forget Spencer. Mr. Owen Guilford, OG, how are you doing, bro?
Doing good. I just watched a very entertaining match today with United winning against Leeds 6-2. Yeah, uh, oh yeah, and we just had finals. The brain feels a lot better for me now. I feel very much rested and look forward to break.
Yeah, you said it. This week has been crazy stressful. Honestly, gosh, I mean, now we're back. I'm back again, as always. And today we're gonna give you, and no, not a post-game analysis or anything like that. Episode 12 or episode 13 will be tomorrow or on Tuesday, actually. But we're here to give you a preview to the January transfer window. And the January transfer window, of course, is a time where clubs are given a month to strengthen if they need to strengthen, where they can get rid of players that they can. And we're just going to go through the teams in the Premier League and if they should strengthen in what areas of the pitch, and maybe who would be a good person to bring in. And we're going to start right at the top of the table, number one, Liverpool, of course. Liverpool have been, despite all the injuries, they've still been their superb self as always for the most part. They beat Tottenham midweek, which was very impressive. It seems as if they don't have any injuries. Because of how well they're playing. Curtis Jones. That's another player who's just been remarkable for me. He's been a standout performer. But looking at this Liverpool side, where do you think they should strengthen?
That's a tough question. But to be honest, I think the most obvious answer would probably be at the back, just because of Van Dijk's ACL and Joe Gomez being injured. I will say, though, I'm pretty sure Joe Gomez has a pretty harsh injury record. So if I were Liverpool, I would try to look on the transfer market for another center back. That's what my opinion would be. And I think, obviously, the most popular choice would probably be Dayot Upamecano from Leipzig. And I know other clubs that will be wanting him as well on this list. So that's my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, a Dayot Upamecano. I think every single top team in the world would love to have Dayot Upamecano. And as well as his club teammate who isn't recognized as much, but I think he's as brilliant. Ibrahima Konate, he's also brilliant, and I've heard some RB Leipzig fans say that he's actually even better than Upamecano. But yeah, both of them, of course, would be the ideal signing for Liverpool. I've heard Per Schurz from Ajax. He's another really really good young player who I think would be very good for Liverpool. And Ben White from Brighton, of course, because he's English and because he's young. Who
Overpriced.
would he be linked to? Oh, Manchester United, no surprise. What a surprise, he would be linked to United. I mean, any decent young English player, he's bound to be on United's radar. Yeah. Even at center back, they're youngsters like Ryan Williams. He's come in and he's done a very good job as well. And I think when you think about just an overall top class footballer in terms of just experience, reading of the game, adaptability, Fabinho is a prime example. He started as a right back. He played center defensive midfielder for Monaco. That's why Liverpool brought him in. And he plays CDM and he plays center back. And he sometimes even played right back. But his time at center back, he's been immense. One of the best center backs in the Premier League, I'd say. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think I saw I saw the Liverpool match where they won 7-0, but there was one, I forgot what specific minute, but there was one play where Zaha was running down the pitch, and I think it was going to be basically a 3v2, but Fabinho made like a perfect timing tackle, and not many people, in my opinion, in the world can do that sort of thing. And especially as a CDM, not even playing center back in the first place, that's really impressive. I mean, he is a CDM, so I mean, he has to be somewhat of a
Yeah.
good tackler, but to play center back as a CDM this whole season and to still be in first place is extremely impressive, and to go first in the group stage in the Champions League. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Champions League. Yeah. I mean, Liverpool didn't have, you know, you know, and with all due respect to the teams in this group, or that were in the same group as Manchester City, they didn't have, a farmers group like Man City do almost every single season, and it still annoys me to hear City fans complain about their time in the Champions League. It really it just doesn't make me feel good. But yeah, talk about the Champions League for me. Just it really doesn't put me in a good mood. I'm considering our favorite team just isn't in it anymore, and it kind of hurts my soul to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, other than center back, I mean, Liverpool don't really. I mean, even right back. I mean, Nico Williams, another academy product, just like Trent, he's coming and done a job. Um, that's about it. I mean, even goalkeeper, their academy product again. Keller came in, did a good job, and he's 8 times better than Adrian.
yeah, I 100% agree with that. That Champions League performance was incredible.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what we're saying for at the top of the table, Liverpool. And then we have Leicester City at number 2. Um, Leicester are really a hit and miss side, honestly. Like some games you'll look at them and you're like, wow, this team could definitely top 4 contender. And then there's some games where you just look at them and you're just like, what on earth was that? No chance. Leicester definitely have had a fair share of their injuries, so much so that they've had to go with the back three for like a lot of the season. The big one being Soyuncu. His absence has literally killed them. Ricardo Pereira, he's been out, but Castañe's coming in, done a good job. When you look at Leicester, where do you think they should spend in January? And if so, where should they spend?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. Yeah, you mentioned Pereira, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. It was a bummer that he's been injured this a lot of the season so far. But to answer your question, because I mean they have a great CDM in Ndidi, James Madison's.
He's been out too, and but he's back now.
Yeah, I would. I feel like Leicester is one of those teams where they're pretty balanced all over the pitch, but I don't think they have like a huge problem anywhere. But I think just the lack of quality overall is their main issue. So I mean, I don't know, if I had to choose, I would say they should go for another winger that's pretty high up in the quality scale. But that's just my own opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Although they have Harvey Barnes, and I don't know what's up now, Ozzy Paris, man. Honestly, like, I mean, this guy is now he's like in and around the first team. Sometimes we'll see him play. Sometimes he's not even in the squad. Sometimes he's on the bench. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, they brought in Changs Under from Roma and on loan. And honestly, I mean, I could see them getting another winger. For me. I think an area of the pitch where they should look at is that left back.
Oh yeah, that's a good shout too. I agree.
I mean, although James Justin and he's done an incredible job, don't get me wrong. I rate James Justin. He's a really good player. Luke Thomas has come in and done okay. But I think Leicester just don't have like a natural left-footed left back. Other than Christian Fuchs, who's getting old and he's aging.
He's been playing. He's been playing center back, right?
Yeah, in the back three.
Yeah.
And especially losing that incredible outlet of Chilwell, that's definitely hurt Leicester. Yeah, in terms of quality, I think Leicester could also go for another striker just behind Vardy. He not just come in and done a job, but yeah, as you were saying, OG, like you're talking about quality, and and you can, and I'll actually pull Manchester United in for this scenario. I mean, in the January transfer window, we were going to get Holland, we didn't, and then we went to Cavani, then we went to Josh King, and then we went to Igalo, and then we got Cavani last day of the window. I mean, it's just the more quality you have, the better. And I think Leicester City are definitely targeting European football next year, and definitely targeting trying to win that Europa League. And I think just bringing in extra quality is going to help them significantly. And actually, you know what? And I think another player that they could go for is another playmaker like James Maddison. We've seen Dennis Pratt be put in that number 10 position, and he's not a number 10. He's he sort of gives me Herrera-esque vibes in the sense that he's energetic and he's kind of just moving himself around the pitch, but he's not that creative of a player. But yeah, for me, they shouldn't spend that much, but they should definitely try and bring in some extra quality. Because extra quality never hurts. And of course, number 3, we have our boys, Manchester United. What can I say? If I had a visual dictionary and I was flipping through the pages and I found the word inconsistent, literally the Manchester United badge would be on that definition. Honest to God. I mean they are just so inconsistent. Some games, again, you'll look at their defense somehow, and be like, wow, Harry Maguire, good performance. And then you look at games like that Tottenham performance, like the Arsenal performance, like Istanbul, and the second game of RB Leipzig, and you're just thinking, what an absolute crap performance. I don't know why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't rotate his center backs, because he doesn't trust Eric Bailly and Axel Tuanzebe. It's very clear. Otherwise, they would be in and out of the squad. He wanted a center back in the summer, never got it. But I'll give this one to you, OG. In your opinion, where do you think? And of course, we're going to assume that the Glazers will actually help us in January, and they're actually going to try and back us this time. Yeah. And we're going to assume that Ed is actually going to fully back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and not get him, last minute transfers. Where do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should spend in January?
Yeah, so obviously they have 2, in my opinion, world-class goalkeepers, so nowhere near that end of the pitch. Right back, I heard we're linked with the Englishman for Atletico Madrid, Kieran Trippier, just for, I think, competition to develop Aaron Wan-Bissaka as a full 2-dimensional right back rather than just a 1-dimensional one.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, to be honest, like, because I've heard many people rumor Kieran Trippier to United. That wouldn't be my number 1 priority. My number 1 priority would be at the back of the line, a center back. Yeah. To be honest, I know a lot of United fans don't necessarily like Maguire, or he's a pretty controversial player in the squad. I personally, what'd you say?
I said he's, for me, he's extremely divisive. For me, I think Harry Maguire will do himself a lot better without that armband.
I agree.
He's not a leader. I think Maguire needs a leader next to him. and I know it's super. This sounds very ironic considering the fact that he's a full-fledged England international. He's 26, 27 years of age. He's in his prime years. And yeah, and you're expecting him to take the lead in that center back role, or next to, well, assumingly Victor Lindelof.
Right.
So yeah,
I personally, so to answer your question, I think United, my main priority, crazy enough, my second priority would be a center back. My first priority would get a world-class number 6. That would be my
absolutely.
priority as a United fan. Because to be honest, like you said before, I think Axel Tuanzebe and Eric Bailly, he's been injury prone his whole career. But I think
like him though, man. I do like Eric Bailly. For me, he's starting to go on like this. He's on the same path as Phil Jones, but of course Bailly and Jones are nowhere near, like, because when Eric Bailly's on form, you're like damn, we got a center back here. He's gonna stay fit.
And he's pacey too, which can complement Maguire's game very well.
Lindelof, either one.
Yeah, and so that's why I think, and to be honest, no shade at McTominay, and obviously he scored 2 goals and got an assist today.
Yeah, he had a good performance today, but I will 100% refuse to let that paper over the cracks. At McTominay, this overall this season, he's been poor this season. He's been poor this season up until today. I would say he's been very poor this season.
And Matic is getting old as well, so we need someone that's in their prime, I would say, as a world-class CDM. Who would you suggest we should get in that position if we had the opportunity?
It's difficult to see. For me personally, if you're looking at world-class center defensive midfielders, let's say Mr. Wonderful pro Manchester United agent Mino Raiola somehow gets Pogba out the door to Juventus, right? I mean, for me, if we're doing any deal with Juventus, I would love to see Bentancur or Bentancur come in. I think he'd do a great job. But for me, personally, and being realistic, so I'm not going to say like Casemiro or like Frankie de Jong. They'd be great, they'd be perfect, but we all know that will never happen anytime soon. But for me personally, if I had to choose, just I'd also go with Dennis Zakaria of Borussia Mönchengladbach. And I know indeed he's also on the dream list, but
he'll be worth a crazy amount. Leicester won't.
Yeah, we're not signing another player from Leicester because they'll say, 80 million for Maguire. So yeah,
100.
Yeah, 100 million. And we didn't even want to pay that for a world-class 19-year-old right winger. And we almost signed Ousmane Dembele, which was the scary part.
Yeah.
I was so scared on deadline day. I mean, honest to gosh. I like Dembele. I think he could be a good player at times, but for me, honestly, Dembele is just Mr. Pegleg. I mean, this guy is constantly injured. And,
I agree.
In terms of the amount of games he's played, he's played a decent amount of games. I mean, that's the longest I've ever seen this guy actually play without getting injured, honestly. Other than that, those two positions, center back and central defensive midfield, would be my number one priority. Mm-hmm. For me, players have to go. Please, for the love for all that's holy, Phil Jones, Rojo. They can go. Honestly, I'll pay for the flight wherever they go. Seriously.
How about Jesse?
Jesse's an interesting one. Because do I think Jesse should go? Yeah, I think Jesse should go. Just, wages. I think he makes over like 120 grand a week. Mm-hmm. Not good enough to be here. But off the pitch, Jesse Lingard is probably the best player in the world. Social media adverts and commercials. This guy he's better than Messi and Ronaldo, honestly. But when it comes on the pitch, he's a million miles from them, honestly. But for me, Jesse's an interesting one because the one thing is that Jesse Lingard just brings something totally different. like when you compare him to Dan James, right? Lingard's more of a finished product, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
He, he brings energy. I mean, not the same energy that Dan James does, but in terms of just a bit of experience, a bit of good vibes, which I know that's like all he's saying.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, if Lingard was wanted to take a significant wage cut, like it'd have to be like 50, 60, 70 grand a week we're paying him.
Mhm.
And of course, you never do that. And I think he wants to go for footballing reasons. But I mean, if he signed a new contract and it was a massively reduced wage, then I'd honestly be okay with that. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and one last thing. I think a lot of obviously during the summer, last summer, every United fan wanted for Jadon Sancho to come to United.
and I was on the Mark Gorbridge 90% club, and of course, yet again, I sunk with the ship off of the German coast. Of course,
To,
I
to,
I sunk with the ship.
to be honest, though, I do think though it is a blessing in disguise, and I'll tell you why. His form has been extremely poor
Oh
with
my
the
gosh, it's been
this year,
dreadful.
and here's an interesting. I've heard this rumor, and this is definitely a stretch, and it wouldn't happen in January, but I think it could possibly happen during the summer, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I heard Mbappe,
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Woo! Ed
but
Woodward with the PR spin.
again, I think that's highly doubtful. So
No,
here's a player that I think could play on the wing. He can play as a 10. He can play.
a player like that would be perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, of course, Mbappe would be. I think I'd take Mbappe over. I'd take Mbappe over a center back. I really would. But
Mhm.
Mbappe, of course, it absolutely never happen. But for me, whoever is this, whoever's making these stories is just really just. They're taking the piss out of United fans. Honestly, gosh, they're actually killing their hearts. I mean, it's like as they're like writing these, it's like as they're writing these stories, like it's as if like the writers are thinking to themselves, and they're repeating the classic Carson Canale quote, "Wow, you're cool." And shout out to Carson because he's been on the show. Anyways, yeah, that's what we're saying. Number 3 for Manchester United. Everton. I
Mhm.
think this is a side that's now really starting to show. Um, yes, they've won games, but honestly, not convincingly. They've relied so heavily on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to deliver them goals. Um, James Rodriguez being missing, it's just been a crippling blow. And all the people that were telling me in the beginning of the year, oh, Davis, James Rodriguez, he's back. And I said, hold on. I mean, it's only been a month. Just, you know, if it gets to December and he maintains that same form, okay, fine, fair enough. James Rodriguez has just been MIA. Honestly, I haven't. It's like I haven't seen him perform in ages. And for me, like that, I think Everton. Well, we'll go to you first. What do you think Everton need to bring it, because they definitely need to spend in January.
Um, yeah, mean, I would definitely say I would say the outside backs again aren't that great at the moment
Yeah,
that they have started in their last previous games, like Godfrey and Holgate.
they're center backs.
Center backs, yeah, Keane and Mina. I don't know.
I think the two are do all right for the
I
most
think they're.
part.
I think yeah, I agree. I don't think they need to spend the bag on a center back. I
No,
think they
no.
should. I think it should mainly focus maybe on their outside backs or even another here because I can't believe a Wobie. No shade to Wobie, but I don't. I think I think he was a little overhyped at Arsenal, and when he made his move, um, I think just because of injuries and who will be starting, I think they should mainly focus on getting an outside back and maybe another winger. Because I think even though Hamas has been injured, and I know Sigurdsson isn't a great, I mean, I don't think he's a bad second choice, to be honest.
No, it's not.
I'm
It
gonna
could
be
be worse.
I'm gonna be a little biased because he's Scandinavian, but Decore and Allen, I think they have a solid midfield. If I'm being completely honest, I
Yeah.
think they should mainly focus on their back line and their keeper, but specifically, I would start at the outside backs. That'd be my opinion.
Yeah. I would spend all there as well. But for me, you're missing one place, which I think if this guy gets injured, I think they are screwed, and they need a striker.
Yeah.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets injured. I mean, whether he brings Moise Kean back, I don't think Moise Kean wants to go back to Everton. Like, probably ever. He's starting for PSG and he's scoring goals. I don't think he ever wants to go back to Everton. Seems like ever again. But yeah, they need a striker. They desperately need a striker. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin has a very good injury record, but I will tell you this right now: he will get tired. He will get run to the ground. And even if it is having like what's his name? The Turkish guy, Tosun. I mean, yeah, he's not great. He's not a world beater, but this was the kind of situation that Manchester United were in last season. Rashford injured, and Martial. It was Martial and Greenwood, and we had to sign someone on deadline day. Yeah, Gallo's not great, but it's a body. I think Everton are, if Everton don't want to spend the money, I think they need to, do what we did and find, maybe the Gallos and the Samanis and the Rondons, and just bring a body in and have someone. Yeah, that's what we're thinking for Everton. Tottenham Hotspur, and Andre, if you're watching this, literally, their past two results will show why they're not winning the league this season. But I will say this: Jose Mourinho is a guy. When you bring him in, you don't not back this guy. Honest to God, like when he came into Tottenham, I was thinking, oh crud, him and Levy are going to be clashing because you have Ebenezer Scrooge 1 and you have Ebenezer Scrooge 2, who one likes to save the money and one likes to spend the money constantly. So yeah, those two were going to clash, but they got on very well. I think Mourinho got the majority of the things that he needed in the summer. I think they've addressed almost every issue. For me, if you're really thinking about, what would you be saying? Do you think they need to spend in January?
Yeah, great question. So I think overall they have a pretty well quality. I was gonna say well qualified.
Well balanced.
Yeah, they have a pretty well balanced squad with a lot of depth. Like I can't believe they have Lucas and Bale sometimes coming off the bench. To be honest, to answer your question, I don't think it's a necessity for them to spend in January. But if they could, I would say for them to look maybe for another center back if I had the opportunity. Because don't get me wrong, Alderweireld's a legend. He's getting old though, and I'm not convinced with Dyer at the moment.
Dyer's been good this season though.
Yeah,
he's not convincing though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he had a rough start to this season, but yeah, I agree. His performances have gotten better and better. And if you've seen the documentary on Tottenham, Mourinho loves Dyer. So.
Oh yeah, he loves him like a son.
But yeah, if they had to spend, I would say maybe look for an alternative center back, maybe even an alternative striker as well. But
Carlos Vinicius is a very good. He's highly rated coming out of Portugal. The problem is we just haven't seen much of him. So it's hard to judge someone when you really haven't seen much, unless if they're just not good enough. It's hard to judge someone. For me, this is going to sound like a surprise, but I'd invest in a left back. Whether it could be for two reasons. Number one, Ben Davies you can tell he's not good enough. yeah, he could play in the left center back in the 3, but he's just not good enough. It's very clear and obvious. And number 2, Real Madrid will probably move on Marcel in the summer, and they will most certainly then they will probably buy back Reguilon because he's been incredible. Honestly, he's been so good this season. So they will need a left back anyways. And in terms of, and I think another position that they probably could do with is maybe an attacking midfielder. In the documentary, for people who saw it, is Mourinho definitely has a very strong bond with Dele Alli, but as of right now, it's not looking great. Maybe an attacking midfielder could do them some good. Um, um, uh, I know Andre is not the biggest fan of Marcel Sabitzer, but I think he's an upgrade on almost every single Tottenham midfielder or attacking midfielder that have. I mean, arguably even Ndombele, he's been terrific this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those, like I said before, that's a great point. You brought up the buyback for Reguilon. I completely forgot about that. But I know, yeah, no, and I agree with the maybe looking for in the market for another creative attacking midfielder because Ndombele is probably he's been very, very good this season. But I do agree they should have some type of like spark off the bench, and I feel at the moment they don't necessarily have that or have that in their cabinet at the moment. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and maybe just getting another quality goal scorer as it is because if you lose Son to injury, you already know at some point this season Harry Kane's going to get injured. It happens every single season where you think oh he's going to make it, he's going to make it, and then up goes his hamstring, and you're like oh shit, Harry Kane's injured again. Yes, you have Carlos Vinicius, but he's nowhere near the levels of Harry Kane and Youngman Son. I mean those two have been. I mean those two just as a whole. Both of them have been. So far my players of the season. They've been immense. Um, and yeah, the center back thing. I think it's now clear that Mourinho doesn't really like Davinson Sanchez. The last time I saw him was actually in United's 6-1 loss to Tottenham. He paired with Dyer, who's actually very good, but in that Europa League game that he got a chance in, he was not great. And I think Mourinho's making it clear that he's not a part of his plans. And I think a new center back could be on the cards. But yeah, but overall, is there a massive need to spend? Absolutely not. It's just for me if they get rid of players and replace them, or just adding extra quality. But yeah, that's what we'd say for Tottenham. Southampton, one of the dark horses this season so far. Southampton, like they've just been shocking in a good way. In a good way. They've been absolutely shocking. Their form, and honestly, for me, it comes down to their manager, and their manager he's the next big thing. I've said it for so many shows, so many times. Ralph Huddle for me is going to be a top class manager. This guy he's literally coached his team to perfect 4-4-2, and for me, do I think they should spend in? Do you think they should spend in January?
Um, yeah, I think they should. I think they should. I think they need another um, outside midfielder. They have Walcott, but I think as you look through the bench, I don't think there's another like Armstrong plays there sometimes, but I think honestly I think they need another outside midfielder. Their back line has been extremely solid this year, and a lot of that has to do with Yannick Vestergaard, who I'm a little biased towards because he's Danish, but yeah, and also I do think though that they do. I think they need another center mid. Romeo. I watched the City Southampton match, and Southampton, in my opinion, played very well in that match, even though they lost. but I do think they need another center mid as well. But I don't think kind of like Tottenham. I don't think there's anything that they need like that's a problem in their squad. But if they can improve upon it, I would say they need a center mid and an outside midfielder.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. For me, I'd also go with the striker. Yeah, you have Shane Long, but Shane Long's been there for like literally forever. And I don't see him anywhere near the starting lineup as of recent. So it's like, how much longer is Huddle gonna, persevere with Shane Long? We've seen that Theo Walcott's been pushed up there at front. I mean, he scored a goal against Arsenal. I'm not trying to keep the misery on Arsenal fans or serious by reminding him of that lovely little moment there. But I mean, someone who wait, no, they did bring in a striker. What's his name? French guy. Ibrahim Diallo, the Frenchman. I think he played for Metz or something. I could be wrong, but yeah, they did bring in a striker, so I was wrong about that. Yeah, in the midfield, I would definitely invest in the midfield. For me, James Ward-Prowse has also been one of my players of the season. He's been nothing but superb, and I think they need. And again, he definitely gives me Herrera vibes. Like, he's energetic. He's got the material. Like, he leads that team.
Yes, quality too.
He's the best FP taker in the league, in my opinion, without question.
I agree.
Well, except for penalties, because oh dear, because I already know what people are going to start saying, and I really don't want to hear it. And for people to put some actual respect on his name, because he's not a penalty merchant. But but in my opinion, there really isn't much need for investment. Maybe a left back. As far as I know, Bertrand, I think he's decent. He's always been one of the more decent left backs in the league, but I think they need depth there. But other than that, I think they're good. Like Southampton are in a good position. Manchester City. Now, this team is just, Jesus Christ. Not being biased, this is one of the most frustrating sides, not only in the Premier League, but in the world to watch. As of the past 2 years, one game you'll see City flying, and you're like, wow, this is the City I know. Then the next game, it will just be stagnant, constant possession, boring football, and it's just like, where has City's attacking player gone? For me, it's simple. But again, I'll start with you just to see what are you thinking, or where do you think City should budget their money, because they definitely needed to spend some money.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, they need to spend more and more money.
Exactly.
But oh my God, they have so much quality on the wingers, in their attack. I do think though, I would look on the market for definitely a left back.
Definitely left back.
Mendy's not it, and when you're putting a right-footed player, João Cancelo, as your left back.
I like Mendy, but I think he's not good enough.
I agree. They need a upgrade from the left back position.
Like a Tagliafico would be like a perfect player. I know he signed a new contract at Ajax, like someone like him. And Alex Telles would have been a perfect player. And I heard City were looking at him in the summer. But yet again, Ed wants to take the cheaper option, and he wants to take the route of, instead of getting the manager's first choice, it's, Manchester City, you're in for a player. Oh, you got to beat him to it. Oh, they're in for Alexis. Let's beat him to it. It's same thing again. But this one's actually turning out well, not like Alexis, which I'm not gonna talk about anymore. He started now.
Yeah, and I would say left back for sure. I would say this is gonna maybe surprise some people, but I would say another striker.
That's not a surprise.
I'm not a fan of Gabriel Jesus.
He's good as a backup option, but
he's good as a backup. Yeah, I agree.
Not Aguero's successor.
And when you have to put Fernand Torres, who I think he's a very good player, but he's
Raheem Sterling, I've seen him up there as well.
Oh my god, yeah. They need a goal scorer. That's the main problem with this team. They need a goal scorer. The back line has been, I think, I think they've conceded the most or second, or sorry, the least or the second least amount of goals in the Premier League this season.
I
So
mean, it's definitely looked better.
yeah,
John Stones has even looked better.
yeah,
I'm shocked. When they played us and I saw John Stones, I'm just like, yes, here we go. John Stones. Woo! We're gonna score the goals. But yet John Stones was like him next to Ruben Diaz. Laporte's even gone to the bench.
yeah. That's what I saw that. I saw that.
I mean,
That was
that's crazy. Hey, City don't want. I mean, if City want to get rid of Laporte. Hey, you could always, you can always send him to the Red Half of Manchester. We could do with a good left center back. I know it never happened, but Nathan Ake, and Ruben Diaz, they've helped that City defense. So it's common knowledge that if they were conceding more goals, that would be really, really, really sad.
yeah.
But yeah, as you said, I think bringing in like an Erling Haaland, I think they now need to go full out and replace Aguero. And don't get me wrong, I have a strong hatred of Manchester City because of my allegiance and because of your allegiance, but one cannot deny the quality of Sergio Aguero. This guy he's been one of the Premier League's best ever strikers. I know some people want to dispute that, but he has been. Since he's come in, he's been huge. He's been one of the best strikers in the last decade. Honestly, he's top draw for me. But he's declining. His injuries are catching up with him, and he's not the same Aguero as we've seen in times gone by and years gone by. And I think they now need to Pep needs to break the bank. I think Lautaro Martinez would be the perfect striker to bring in. He plays almost exactly like Aguero. He plays that. Yeah, he plays in a 2, but he's very dynamic. He's and like Aguero, Aguero sometimes he'll stay central. He'll stay central, but then at times during the game he'll shift left, he'll shift right, and he'll drift just kind of everywhere. And Lautaro kind of does the same. So I think Lautaro Martinez would be a good person to have.
How about Lukaku?
Yep. I saw that rumor. That reportedly City were ready to pay £100 million for Lukaku. I know that will never happen, and I know Lukaku will never go to Manchester City.
Hey, the way he was treated at United, you never know.
I honestly felt sorry for Lukaku, but the reason why I wanted Lukaku to go was purely because I think some attitude questioning was a problem apparently, and Inter were offering £80 million for Lukaku.
Yeah, that's true.
That's way more than what we paid for him. And the only reason why Inter were and at the time Lukaku was in horrendous form, but the only reason why Inter at the time were stupid enough to offer that money was because Conte literally walked in and said, if I'm taking this job, you give me Romelu Lukaku, and if you don't, I'm not taking the job. So Inter more or less just said, all right, we'll do everything we can to give you Lukaku. They paid the 80 million, and they took Alexis off us. Unfortunately, they did take one of our greatest left backs of all time, captain, my captain, Ashley Young, and they also have Darmian too. So yeah, I think Manchester United officials need to build Antonio Conte's statue outside of Old Trafford. I think it'd be quite respectful to him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one more position I think City should strengthen, and I know this is going to sound crazy. Their central midfield. For me, like Gundogan, he's getting old. I think Gundogan needs to go. He's not good enough anymore. They need to replace him and bring in a more. They need to bring in a more. How do you say it? Like a more versatile dynamic kind of player.
Yeah.
That could play the position. Like Gundogan was, X amount of years ago. That's what they need. They need a younger Gundogan, something like that. Yeah. That's what we're saying for what City need. And the next team, it's gonna sound shocking. Yeah, they definitely do need to spend money in the window. But when you see this team, you're gonna be thinking, do they really need to spend more money after all they've done to back their manager?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they do. Chelsea need a freaking center back. I mean, this is going to sound surprising, but yes, they do.
I agree.
As well as Zuma and Thiago Silva have looked in like the last 6 all games. Putting that Wolves result aside, that team's been solid. But Zuma gets injured. If Zuma gets injured, or he goes back to the Kurt Zuma of old, or if Thiago Silva gets injured, you're right back to the world-class Andreas Christensen. And honestly, when playing against United, there's nothing more. I love nothing more than seeing us play against a brilliant center back pairing of Zuma and Christensen, because we all know that pairing works.
Yeah. I was gonna say center back as well. Another position though that this will be pretty controversial, but I would say they would, I don't know, for depth, and maybe if Conte left, I would say they'd need another 6 maybe. That's where I would
Declan Rice.
I would say it's a necessity at the moment, but it could be, because obviously we know their attacking options are plentiful.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan.
Attacker.
I
said the last thing they need is another attacker.
I completely agree. And if anything, they have too many. I'm a huge fan of Ziyech, but he's had some injury problems so far. But if that man can stay healthy, I think Chelsea would be such a better. I don't think they've lost when Ziyech has played, but I just think his quality on the ball is incredible. His passing is incredible. His dribbling. I just, as a United fan, I know it's weird saying this, but if we got Ziyech, that would be incredible. That would honestly be.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Of course, it would never happen because United is an Arsenal, and if we were to get Zach, we'd probably get him like 15 years down the line when he's finishing washed up. If you had told me 5 years ago, we were signing Willian, I'd be over the moon, because Willian 5 years ago was a very good player. Not now. But it's I mean Chelsea, yeah, I mean they could go for 6. I think they want Declan Rice above everybody else. I think Lampard and Gareth Southgate's dream boy is trying to make something happen, Mason Mount, because as most people know, those two are very close and best friends. Declan Rice came through the Chelsea youth academy before leaving for West Ham, and I know for whenever Mason Mount's birthday comes around, if it already passes, I swear, then this joke's not gonna work. But I know that that Frank Lampard really wants to do something special for Mason and his birthday, and I think nothing would make Mason Mount happier than pushing the curtains aside and seeing Declan Rice hold up a Chelsea jersey. That would just make Mason Mount's birthday. Yeah. Chelsea, they in terms of players that should go, as well as he's been a good meme and a quality manager, Kepa's got to go. Kepa, I'm sorry, man, but in his time in the beginning of, I actually defended the guy for two straight seasons, because that first season syndrome can happen. But yeah, he's just not good enough, honestly. There've been games where I've seen Willy Caballero be the second choice, and Kepa's left out of the squad. he's got to go. Christensen, I think, should go as well. He's not good enough either. And I think Chelsea have too many left backs. They have 3 left backs making an obscene amount of money. It's either getting rid of Alonso or Emerson.
Yeah.
If I were Chelsea, I'd get rid of both of them and bring up a youth product. Get both their wages off the bill. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Number 8 is Chelsea. Aston Villa. Now, my biggest concern with Aston Villa from the start of the season, and yes, they've been decent over the past few weeks, but it's starting to show their lack of depth. Ross Barkley got injured, and I know Anwar El Ghazi has filled that area very well. Bertrand Traore, they brought him in, but they need depth. They desperately need some quality depth. I think House at center back, I think he's okay, but they can do better. What are you saying for Aston Villa? Because it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I didn't mention this in the United one, but a player, because we were talking about Mbappe, but the other player I was referring to that we should go after is Grealish. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why would we go after Grealish? We have Van de Beek, we have Pogba at the moment.
If he goes.
But yeah, I think Pogba is definitely going to go. But here's the thing with Grealish.
He can play on the wing too, but he's more of an attacking midfielder.
That's what I'm saying. He's such a versatile player that he can play as a winger, he can play as a 10, he can play as an 8. He technically could play as a 6 too, but we probably won't put him there. But
he was always first choice. Van de Beek was never on his list. Always been wanted Grealish, but of course, the reason why he signed that new contract, let's be real, he was flirting with Manchester United, for the longest amount of time. It was as if he put on a short skirt and some lipstick and said, Manchester United, come and get me, please. And Ollie was all into it. He was like, yes, Jack, absolutely fantastic. Let me go ask Ed if he can deliver. And Villa said 80 million. And the rest is history. And, he had to sign that new contract because he probably wasn't going to go anywhere else. Grealish would have been a perfect player to have at United.
Yeah. And so speaking of that, I think Grealish is definitely going to leave. So I think they need a replacement for Grealish.
Not anytime soon, though.
Not in the January transfer window. That is a good point. But I think one team can definitely spend the bag for him over the summer. But to your point, I don't think it will happen.
At some point, I think he'll go, but I don't think he'll even leave in the summer. I think he'll.
Don't?
No. Especially with the pandemic. And if you're thinking about, Jack Grealish for me is a player who I think he can get into any top side in the world. Doesn't matter what team. He can get into he could start for any team in the world. I can't think of a single team where he doesn't start. I think for me, it's going to sound surprising, but they need a striker. I know they have, that Brazilian guy, Wesley, but, I don't know where he's gone. I've no idea where he's been. He's been MIA. I don't know what's happened to him, injuries and whatnot. But if Ollie Watkins gets injured, and I think Ollie Watkins is a phenomenal player. He's spectacular. He's brilliant.
I saw him play some matches with Brentford too. He was incredible there, and he's still incredible.
Yeah, he's been very, very good. But I think if he gets injured, I think there's going to be big problems in terms of scoring goals. For me, I'd probably go for a 6. A player who I think would be perfect for what Manchester United need, Douglas Luiz. Yeah. And I know if we ever submitted a bid, City will immediately activate that buyback clause because they're going to say, hell no, you're not having him. But, that's a player who would be very, very good. That would be a perfect fit for us. Young, dynamic, just a good quality number 6. but yeah. Um, um, Anything else you think they should get in the window?
Um, I mean, again, it's hard. It's hard to say because I would say they're a mid-level team to maybe second half of the table. So I mean, obviously they need quality all around, except for maybe two or three positions. But yeah, I mean, no, there's not there's I mean they definitely have problems, but I don't think they have a huge problem at the moment.
No.
And considering the quality all around, there's not
Yeah.
one player besides Grealish that is 100 miles better than the other. So I don't. Besides what you just said, I don't think they have
Yeah.
to spend
Mhm.
anywhere else.
Yeah, they don't need a huge amount of changes, but kind of like what we were saying with Everton, like assuming like let's say Hamas was say like Everton's best starting 11, that's a very very good stat. But when you look to their bench, it's you don't have a whole lot of quality options, and I think Aston Villa need to beef up their bench. I think if they significantly beef up their bench, I think they could be contending for European football because they have a good enough squad. And assuming that they'll sign Ross Barkley, and again, that's another player I would have never in my life thought Ross Barkley would actually play well consistently. I would never have thought in my life that Ross Barkley would be consistently playing well, honestly. And he's been brilliant since coming to Villa. At a certain point, now that I'm thinking to myself, that maybe he should get back in the England squad. But yeah, that's number 9, Aston Villa, West Ham. All right. This West Ham side for me, it's just as well as they've done, they lack in certain areas. Like for me, they need it if they're gonna spend money in January. I think they need another central midfielder. They lack a lot there. But what are you saying?
Um, yeah, West Ham's a tough team to kind of analyze, in my opinion. But I think Bowen's been playing decently well.
Yeah, he's been very good.
Uh, come back here. Tell me who you think West Ham should get. I have to think about this, to be honest.
Yeah, as I said, I think they should go for a central midfielder. Honestly, they need something because if Declan Rice gets injured or Thomas Suchek gets
Oh,
injured, you have you have the legend Mark Noble, but his mobility, yeah, I don't think it's going to be there. I mean, Mark Noble is just going to be, oh no, um um uh, OG, like those those scooters that people who like lack mobility and who need to get around like the ride on and stuff,
yeah.
mobility scooters. That's gonna be Mark Noble and James Milner in like 5 years time,
Yeah.
or maybe James Milner will still be running because it's James Milner.
Hmm.
Yeah, they need a central midfielder. For me, I think they definitely need a center back, a left-footed center back. I know Cresswell's been playing in that. What we've seen, I'm a go based off of, I don't know if the past few games they've been with a back four, but they've been playing with a back three for a lot of the season. So I'm assuming, I'm just gonna say assuming they're playing with a back three. I think they're good at right back. They're fine there. When it comes to attacking options, I mean, West Ham are a pretty balanced squad. I think they need a left back, um, and I think they need someone creative. West Ham don't have a lot of creative players. They
Yeah.
have flair players like Jared Bowen and Pablo Fornals. I think
Imagine
they
if they
lack
had,
creativity.
imagine if they had Pyatt in his prime back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and we all saw what Pyatt was in his prime. Pyatt made, not only did he just up West Ham so many levels, he also made everybody else look really good. Like Mikel Antonio, just like at that time, I thought he was like one of the best strikers in the Premier League at the time. I'm not even joking. I was too much on. I was too much. I fell for the West Ham hype train with Slaven Bilic and Payet. I really really fell for it. But yeah, I know they have Landini, but I think I I think he can still do a job, but I think they need better. They need better. I mean, if they sign Ericsson, and I've seen the rumors, that would be an unbelievable signing. Do I think Ericsson would want to go to West Ham? No, probably not. I mean, I've been hearing he's been holding out for a move for a big payday at PSG, Paris Saint-Germain.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Even though PSG just do not need Ericsson in any way, shape, or form with the way they play. Yeah, but if they brought Ericsson, that would be unbelievable. And they need a center back as well. Like I heard they were trying to get either Tomori or Rudiger. If they had brought them in again, I think that would have been a good signing. I don't know what's happened to Issa Diop though. What's happened to him, man? He's good. He's a good player too. I feel like he's been bombed out of the squad.
Well, yeah, United were rumored to have
exactly
gone before.
Exactly. And knowing that they're coming from another Premier League club, West Ham, I think West Ham put like a 50 million evaluation on him. So yeah, that was probably never going to happen.
Mm.
But he's a center back who has pace and he's quick. And he's not super young. He's 23, 24, 25. So he has experience. I don't think that'd be a bad signing, but I mean, of course, I prefer a lot better. But I mean, that wouldn't be a bad shout. But yeah, that's what we're saying. Number 10, West Ham. Wolves. When I think of Wolves, I think of Raul Jimenez. Well, I don't really think of him anymore now because he's out injured. And Wolves, jeez, the one thing that I thought they were so stupid not to do, they did not replace Diogo Jota. And as well as Podence and Pedro Neto has done, I mean, Adama Traore, he doesn't look like the same player as he was last season. I don't know whether his head's disillusioned or maybe the interest from other clubs is hitting his brain, but they need another attacker.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's frustrating. I feel like as a Wolves fan, it would be pretty frustrating, similar to like an Arsenal fan, because if you look at the squad and the quality that they have within it, I mean, there's no way in heck they should be in 11th place at the moment. There's definitely some teams above them that they have that they individually have better players than, but I totally agree. They definitely need a replacement for Jota. But, I mean, to be fair, though, no one knew when they sold Jota to Liverpool. They had no idea that Jota would be that good. Because, I mean, at Wolves, I mean, he had some matches where he was incredible, but in my opinion, he was very inconsistent, which is, I think, why they let him go in the first place.
Yeah, and 40 million, I think that's a bargain. I mean, yeah. He's been literally the dire opposite of what he was at Wolves until he got that injury, of course. I mean, I think he scored in like 8-9 consecutive games. And I originally thought when he came in, I just thought, oh, back up to the front three. He's gonna sit. Jurgen Klopp has thrown him in everywhere. He threw him in at central midfield, all across that front three, even up front, and he was incredible. Like that Atalanta game stood out, completely stood out. I thought Firmino's place was under threat. But yeah, he got the injury, and of course that front three is back, obviously. Yeah, they definitely need an attacker. I know this might sound surprising, but I think they need a midfielder.
Yeah, I agree. In the center of the park.
Moutinho's getting old. Yeah. I rate Ruben Neves very highly. I think Den Donker's a good player. But other than that, they don't have a lot in the midfield. They really don't. They lack severely. They need a 6. I know Den Donker can play that role, but I think they need a defensive destroyer kind of player.
Yeah.
And they also need someone like Ruben Neves, who's very, very good at transitioning the ball from defense through the midfield to attack. I mean, he's one of the best in the Premier League at doing it. And if Ruben Neves isn't playing, I mean, I've seen a lot of games Wolves very much struggled with in terms of just creating and providing chances for their front three. I'll tell you this: the last thing they need is another freaking left back. I mean, they have so many freaking left backs, honestly. I mean, they've even played Rowan Saiz on that left wing back. I mean, they have. I know Johnny is out. They brought in the left back from Nice that United were linked with. The teenager, Ait Nouri. I think he's from Angers. They brought in Marcal from Lyon. They played Max Gilman there. Gilman, I think is his name. I mean, they have so many left backs. They don't need another left back. Do you think they need anything else other than an attacker?
I mean, an attacking midfielder, but I think besides that, I don't think Wolves have to spend as much money besides that, to be honest.
All right, that's what we're saying. Number 11, Wolves. Newcastle.
I think I think they've been overperforming, in my opinion.
They definitely have overperformed. And the one thing that has actually happened, Mike Ashley has almost completely backed the manager for the first time in history. He didn't even want to do that for Rafa Benitez, but he was willing to do it for Steve Bruce. Don't get that whatsoever. They brought in Brian Fraser, Callum Wilson, Jamal Lewis, even Andy Carroll, Jeff Hendrick. They've resolved a lot of those issues that they've been having. Even Joe Linton's performing, and he scored more goals than Martial. Honestly, I love Anthony Martial. Everybody knows I'm Premier League primetime. He's as much as I like Bruno Fernandes, I love Anthony Martial more. I really, really do. I love Martial a bit, honestly. But he's been so frustrating this season. He's not the player he was last year. I love him a bit, but something's going wrong with him. But anyways, getting back to Newcastle. They're an interesting one. They have depth in almost every position that they play. It's really difficult to say. But personally, for me, I would get a winger.
I agree with that.
Miguel Almiron, his best position isn't a winger, but with the way Steve Bruce plays, he plays with wingers, so he's forced out wide. Allan Saint-Maximin, I don't think anybody needs to mention how good this guy is. This guy is quality. I think that'd be a great player for Manchester United, but knowing us in English clubs, that deal's probably not going to be cheap anytime soon. And he signed a 6-year contract, so brilliant. They need a winger. I think they need another top-class winger to come in. Whether it's start or push Saint-Maximin even harder, I think that's what they need. What's your input on Newcastle?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. It's one. In my opinion, they've overperformed. Like I said before, I think the players that they have really gelled with one another, considering their quality. I think Callum Wilson's very underrated, though. I knew Callum Wilson would do well, but I didn't think that they would have as many points as they would have. But I agree with you. I think they need, because St. Maximin has been injured, so they've had to put, I think, Hendrick as like a right mid, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they have.
So I think they for depth purposes, I think they need another winger. I agree with that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Newcastle at number 12. Crystal Palace. I swear on my life, this team, I know they brought in Eze, but bro, I swear on my life, it feels like this team hasn't actually spent any good amount of money for ages. I swear. The squad here is almost practically the same as they were like 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago. I have no idea how Wilfred Zaha is still here. But I feel sorry for him at the same time because Palace, and if I were the Palace owners, I would be doing everything to cling on to him, but he's going to leave at some point. He's going to go. He's not going to stay around and finish 13th with freaking Crystal Palace. So all due respect to Palace. I mean, for me, they need another center back because they've had to play. They've converted Kouyaté to a center back. I think they need a younger center back who's going to come in and do bits for them.
Cahill's pretty old too.
Yeah, he is. I know this is going to sound crazy. I know there'd be no chance of them ever doing this deal because of his wages. But I mean, even bringing in a guy like, I don't know, like Socrates. I mean, someone like that would do them wonders, in my opinion. Someone that has his experience. Yes, I know Socrates doesn't play at all for Arsenal, but I know Socrates would never in his life want to join Palace, literally ever. But I mean, that'd be like a player type that they should look at. I think they're fine in terms of their wing backs,
I agree.
But dear Lord, get a midfielder.
Yeah,
midfielder. They honestly they need a midfielder. I've seen MacArthur, Milivojevic anchoring that midfield for ages, honestly, and Roy Hodgson needs to get a new midfielder desperately to breathe some new life in this Palace team. To at least make Wilfried Zaha's job a little easier because, carrying Palace every year is as hard as is. I think they should get another winger too. I mean, Andros Townsend. I've heard Crystal Palace fans in the past call him the English Arjen Robben. I honestly have, other than the constant cut in and shoot into the upper left-hand, right-hand corner, I just see zilch, nil comparisons with Arjen Robben. I do not get that whatsoever, other than the fact that they love to cut him, with all due respect to Andros Townsend. Do you think they need to invest in a winger?
In a winger?
Yeah.
I would personally, with Crystal Palace, I would spend a lot of their money on the center of the park. Because I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I know they lost 7-0 to Liverpool, but the first half, if you really watch the game from an analytical point of view, I don't think they played that bad. They created many opportunities, and if they would have finished their opportunities,
the game would have been a lot different.
They would be at least drawn with Liverpool at halftime. And I really liked how their attacking players worked. With Ayew, he played decent. He should have finished an opportunity, though. Zaha obviously schlepped. But, yeah, I agree. MacArthur and I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Milivojevic.
They're just not good enough.
That's a penalty merchant. Because, honest to God, all I've seen this guy really do is take pens. So stop calling Bruno Fernandes, penalty merchant. I don't want to hear it. This guy literally takes penalties for a living, just like the Italian Mark Noble, Jorginho. Honest to God.
Yeah.
But actually, speaking of Jorginho, I think that's another. I'm not saying that again. You'd want to go there, but someone like Jorginho, of course, not of his quality because Palace, probably wouldn't have the money. But someone like that is someone that I think they could do well with.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Jorginho is at his best, he's very good. Carrying the ball, he's always taking that ball, and kind of like Ruben Neves, he's very skillful with the ball, and he's good transitioning the ball from back to front, and he can be very creative. And I've seen some quality assists and balls from Jorginho, and I think a player like that would really, really help Palace. And it would make Zaha's job a lot easier. But with the formation that they play, they really don't require. They need creativity, but with the formation that they play, they don't really require it. So yeah, that's Crystal Palace for you to a T.
Yeah.
The team that just got battered 6-2, Leeds United. And real quick, what I'm going to say to Leeds United is, with all due respect to this rivalry, there is no contest. Get back in your swamp and know your place, because you're nowhere near us. Anyway, getting back to what we were saying, Leeds United. And with respect to Leeds United, do you know what? Fair play to them, man, because they've started this Premier League season very well. They've been very, very good this season. But I think there are two positions stand out for me that need strengthening: center back and striker. Kind of like the Everton situation. If Bamford gets injured, they're screwed. They don't have a goal scorer like Bamford.
Rodrigo could play there, though.
Yeah, he can, but Bielsa's been playing him because they play a 4-1-4-1. He plays him in that attacking midfielder position. He likes him there better. Yeah. And I think they would do great wonders if they had another winger.
Yeah,
like Rafinha.
I think Rafinha's done pretty well, but I think Jack Harrison's done pretty well too, though. But yeah, I agree. I think they do need depth in their attack with like a winger or a striker, and definitely a center back. I like Ailing.
Yeah, I got converted there.
Excuse me?
I said he got converted there because he's a right back. And Stuart Dallas, Mr. Versatile, he can play here as well. But I think they need one because that Koch guy, or I don't know his first name.
Cooper, right?
Koch, that German international they brought in, he's not been good at all. I mean, he got called up to the German national team. I have no idea why. I mean, if they had a load of injuries or whatnot, but he played in that game against Spain, and oh my dear Lord, I thought I was watching Mustafi 2.0. I mean, the guy was sliding everywhere. Honestly, he was not great. But yeah, fair play to Leeds because they definitely started the Premier League well. I'm surprised how they're in 14th. All banter aside, I'm surprised that they're in 14th with the quality that they have. But I think if they spend in January, I think it will help them. Hopefully they'll see from a slightly biased point of view. Hopefully they'll see how amazing Dan James was, and Bielsa will fall for the Daniel James masterclass and will spend like £30 million on Dan James, which would be lovely. Anyways, anything else to say about Leeds before we move into probably the team we've been looking forward to talk about most?
Honestly, I just can't wait to get to the next team.
Yep, me too. And let's get right into the next team. Boo! I think this photograph here is like the last time. I'm putting that United result aside. I think it's the last time they've actually convincingly won a game. Arsenal. And I'm sorry, serious, if you're watching. Cheese and rice, what has happened to you guys? Honestly, I never in my life would think this team would be in 15th. I mean, they have been shocking, and I now mean in the bad sense. They have been shockingly bad. But if you think about it, and it's weird to say, as bad as they've been, when it comes to the goals that they concede and their overall performances, if you look at the game analytically, their defense really doesn't have a whole lot to do. It's just certain aspects of their defense. But I think their biggest issue is in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I agree.
Thomas Partey being out, when you can tell, honestly, after that game, I heard so many Arsenal fans saying, El Neni is back. He's back to being El Neni of 2016, which is not good enough. For me, I like Ceballos. I do like Ceballos, but he's been poor. I do like Ceballos, so, and it just shows, I know Arteta fell out with Guendouzi, but he's been really good with Hertha Berlin. Torreira has been living it up with Atletico, and Torreira I think he was the signing of the season when Emery came in. I think he was voted signing of the season.
Yeah.
I think he'd do great wonders coming back to Arsenal, honestly. He would do great wonders for them midfield. Like, imagine Partey and Torreira alongside him. Um, as much as I love seeing, Granit Xhaka and El Neni, the Xhaka El Neni masterclass playing together, as lovely and as graceful and as attack minded that combo is, it's been so poor. It has been. And same thing with Hector Bellerin. I think his time is done. Like he's like DT from Arsenal Fan TV pointed out, the guy can't even take an actual throw in. I think half of the foul throws this season have been from Hector Bellerin. Like, honestly, I mean, they have good pieces though.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabriel, that's another. I mean, that's a player that chose United over Arsenal. I'm sure he's looking back on the decision saying, "What the hell was I thinking?" If we had brought in Gabriel, like that would have been perfect. Like Gabriel and Maguire, rock solid. That would have been amazing, honestly. I mean, they have Kieran Tierney. I think Kieran Tierney is a great player.
I do.
I think and I know I know he's very young. He's not. He has experience, but experience with the Scottish League and that's different from the Premier League. But I think he should be the captain. As good as Aubameyang is, just because you have a lot of ability doesn't mean you should be the captain. A captain should galvanize players and should, give them the kick up the backside that they need. Be commanding, have passion. I mean, Aubameyang's he's lost his smile, man. Like, what more can I say? Ojo, I'll give it to you. What should Arsenal do in this January transfer window?
Buy an attacking midfielder. And it's funny because and I literally have a poster in my room of Ozil at Madrid because he was one of my favorite players I've ever watched in my life. The way they've treated him, I think, has been incredibly harsh. But obviously, they don't want to play him. They just want to get rid of him. So,
it's wages.
Yeah,
$50,000 a week.
Because they were afraid that he would leave because Sanchez just left them, so they would sign drive a contract. But I think the biggest problem is they need an attacking midfielder. They need a creative player. Because like you said, I mean, they have they have decent pieces all around. They're just not quite connecting together, and I think an attacking midfielder would do them wonders. Kind of like Eriksen, but I don't think Eriksen would ever go to Arsenal.
Yeah. I think they need a new right back. And I think Cedric needs to be given a chance in the team. I mean, I'm no Arsenal fan, but if I'm putting myself in the mindset of an Arsenal fan, not only would I just be feeling absolutely miserable right now, completely disillusioned, and seeing no light at the end of the tunnel, I'd also want him to be given a chance. I mean, Hector Bellerin is not good enough. He needs to be moved on, and I think they need to bring in Max Aarons from Norwich. I think that'd be a great player for them. Before he went to RB Leipzig, I was going to say, Dominic Szoboszlai. Hopefully I got that name right. Hopefully. And if it was wrong, I'm not even going to try and re-say the name. But Dominic Szoboszlai from Salzburg, he went to the team that knocked United out of the Champions League. I'm just not going to talk about that. But I think Houssem Aouar, and I actually did say his name correctly. So bravo to me. I think Houssem Aouar would be the ideal signing for them. But would he want to join a team that's floundering in 15th? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a good player to have. And I think if they're going to keep with that back three, I think they need a new left back. I love, and we said in the beginning, I love Saka. But the kid's going to get burnt out. You're going to burn the kid out. And I think, and here's my thing with Mikel Arteta. I know serious for the longest time. What do I say? Especially at the United game, the Artekers masterclass. Listen, the only Artekers masterclass I'm seeing is a masterclass as you're floundering in 15th. Honestly, God. I mean, it's. I'm lost for words. I mean, do you have anything to add? I mean, I'm honestly lost for words.
Yeah, I'm speechless. I don't really know what to say. That's a pretty complicated situation to be in.
Exactly. Yeah. I do pity Arsenal for the sense in terms of their owners. I mean, they're in the same situation as us. I know Arsenal fans will absolutely tear me a new one if they don't think so. I mean, both of our owners, American, don't really care about the club. Love taking money out of the club. And yeah, that's about it. I think for me, I think their biggest problem, I think, is that they have players who are there in the Wenger era, the Emery era, and now in the Arteta era. And the players that weren't good enough under Wenger are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's still a lot of deadwood that, luckily for them, their contracts expire at the end of the season. Like Mustafi over 100K a week is going to be gone. Kolasinac over 100K a week. Who else? Mesut Ozil, 350 grand a week. That's going to be he'll be gone out the door. There was one other person. I don't know when Rob Holding's contract expires, but he's not good enough.
Yeah.
David Luiz, over 120 grand a week will be out the door. Although I will say for David Luiz, he's been contributing and he's actually been one of their better center backs. So I'll take that back. So yeah, this team is in a complete and utter shambles. Honestly, God, but they need to get their shit together. Do I think they'll get relegated? No, I don't. No, they won't get relegated. And I 100% agree with Roy Keane said, and I will say, as Roy Keane said, I think they'll have just enough to avoid relegation. Brighton, now, three of their star players, all of them have been linked with moves to bigger clubs. Ben White, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but Bissouma, who would be a perfect player for Manchester United, actually, and Tarek Lamptey. All three of them, I think at some point, will go out the door because I think all three of them are excellent players. And for me, I think they need to add. I think they need to add at center back. I think they need to add at left back as well. In the middle of the park, I think to a certain extent they're good, but I think without Bissouma, you don't have that defensive destroyer. Where do you think they need to invest?
Personally, I think their back line is solid all around. I think their midfield definitely could use some work on the outside. Because, like, I've seen them play a 3-4-3 a couple of matches, but
Or 3-5-2, either one.
Yeah. Because I think they're outside midfielders they need to invest in, but I think most importantly, I don't know. I think I think they need some creativity / goal scorers in their squad.
I mean,
that's a big answer, but that's what I would say.
They brought in Danny Welbeck on the last day. Danny Welbeck did bits for them today.
Yeah, he did. That is true.
But that's not going to be your long-term solution, unless if you're in love with Danny Welbeck. I don't think he'll be there for any time longer than probably a year. But what more can I say? I mean that's kind of it for Brighton. I mean, again, it's another team. I'm kind of surprised that they're in 16th. Not that they should be anywhere significantly higher, but I mean they're almost. I mean they're near the relegation zone. I think they'll stay up. I think Brighton their quality will help them get out of trouble, but yeah, I don't think it will be. I think it will be a close one, but yeah, I think Brighton will just make it, kind of like Arsenal.
Mm.
Fulham.
I think Fulham will get relegated, even though they're one spot behind.
They made it out of the relegation zone, so I mean, Scott Parker's doing something right.
Yeah,
They converted to the back three, which has worked. They have Alphonse Areola, who's
he's
been,
a good goalkeeper.
yeah, he's been one of, I mean, over the past, I'll say decade, because he's been recognized like for the decade, I guess. Over the past decade, I mean, I'm not going to say one of the world's best, but I will say one of the world's most recognized goalkeepers. So he has experience in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I brought in Loftus-Cheek on loan. They have Joachim Anderson from Lyon, Animal Lookman, who's very good at taking penalties. I think what Fulham really need, to be honest with you, I think they need to invest in the middle of the park. I mean, for me, I'm not the biggest fan of Anguissa. I think he's done bits. He's done a good job. But I think they need someone better. And Loftus-Cheek, I don't know where that guy has been. Probably injured again. Wouldn't be surprised if he is. And one thing that they do need, it's going to sound surprising, but they need a striker. Mitrovic is not playing.
He's not playing well, and even though I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been watching Fulham as much as I could. He's in my fantasy team. So from that aspect, he hasn't been playing well at all. So.
I've had the biggest problems with my fantasy, and for anybody who doesn't know why, go back and watch some of the previous episodes where I just absolutely just tear into my lack of luck on fantasy. It's so annoying, honestly. But yeah, they need a goal scorer. I think Fulham have the capability of staying up. I think they can. When you look at the bottom four teams, not assuming, and we're assuming that it's right now and not in the future, because Arsenal will probably be in the bottom four, assuming that. But I think Fulham can make it out. I think Fulham can just survive this. When you look at the other three teams, and for me, also, I mean, when I look at the bottom four, I thoroughly believe that Fulham is the best of the bottom four.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, for me, it's between them and Burnley. They are in the relegation zone. If I were Dwight McNeil and James Tarkowski, I would just leave. Because you're not going to get anywhere at Burnley. Both very good players. I mean, like I said about Crystal Palace, I swear on my life, this team is still the same as it was 5 years ago, except like they have some other pieces added. Honestly, this team has just looked the same for so long, and they need to just spend some money. They need new life. Oh dear, I don't know what's happened to OG. Like, he's just gone. But yeah, Burnley, it's, oh my dear Lord. Yeah, they need to spend money. It's not good enough whatsoever. Yeah. So they need a striker. They need a striker who can actually score them goals consistently. I mean, Chris Wood's the only one consistently scoring the goals, and yeah, he's far from the best. Yeah, so they need a striker very, very badly. So yeah, that's what I'm saying for Burnley. Maybe some new outside backs. They definitely need a midfielder. I think they just lack options. Like, I mean, they have Westwood, they have Jack Cork, but they have a few guys on the bench. But other than that, they really don't have a lot of options. So I would go with I would go with yeah, that's what I'd say that Burnley need to invest into. And we're gonna wrap this up. and kudos to all the viewers who stayed on. Number 19, West Brom. I know Sam Allardyce has just taken over, but I think West Brom they just need significant strengthening all over the pitch. I'll start with the midfield. They lack so much creativity in the midfield. For me, they need creativity in the midfield very badly. And they need a winger. And our great Diangana and Mateus Pereira are very good young players, but they need more quality there because that's not enough. Whether the West Brom owners will back them or not, they need quality. And for me, they need a striker. I know they got Carlin Grant. I know he's still settling in, but I mean, it really isn't good enough. And West Brom just need to significantly get better. And they're just not good enough. And the worst of the bunch, Sheffield United. Yes, they're worse than Arsenal, putting all banter aside. And it's surprising that they're at the bottom of the league because I would never have thought this at the beginning of the year. Aaron Ramsdale has just been a huge downgrade to Dean Henderson. I think Dean Henderson was a huge reason why they finished so high in the table last season. I think they're going to go right back down where they came from just 2 years ago. And for me, I know they just signed Ryan Brewster, but he hasn't been convincing. They need a striker. They need a striker. And I think they need a center back as well because they're short. I heard Marcos Rojo has been interesting, Chris Wilder, and Jesse Lingard too. They could take both of them off our hands if they want. But yeah, I think both of them would do well at Sheffield United. They'd be playing, first team football every week, and they need strengthening in the middle of the park too. I think Sander Berg's a good player, but I think they need more players like him that have that same level of creativity. And yeah, that's what I'd say for Sheffield United. Oh wait, I think he is back. He is back. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think he's still coming. Bro, cheese in room.
Davis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry. I think it was my Wi-Fi, and I know it is because my internet's very slow at the moment.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I just we're on Sheffield United, and I was just saying that it's absolutely dreadful for them. It's just not good enough whatsoever. Like they are just so poor. Anyways, do you have anything to say about Sheffield United?
Yeah. I mean, it's very – Sheffield United's one of those teams that's very interesting because I feel like last year they were known for the clean sheet. And this year, like just for the girth of their whole squad and just how compact they were and how they always kept the clean sheet most of their matches. But this year they can't keep a clean sheet and they cannot score. So, I mean – and I think a lot of that has to do with Dean Henderson coming back to United as a second option. But, yeah, Brewster's been god-awful there. That was a big signing. Yeah, they need literally – I don't know how they can impact their team with a couple of, like, multi-million signings because I think besides a selected few players, their team's a mess. And that explains why they're in last place at the moment. Yeah. I do think though that to your point, I think they'll be taking more points in the new year. And I think there is a possibility they could be above West Brom or Burnley or even both. But to your point, I don't think they're as good of a team as Fulham.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I know this video's gone on literally for ages, longer than Arsenal's losing streak. Yeah. We'll end it here. If you like this video and if you absolutely loved OG on the show, please smash the like on this video. And if you want to keep up with us, we're on Spotify and Instagram to keep up with the latest of what PLPT is doing. We'll be back again, of course, on Tuesday, where my co-hosts will return because they've been in final exams as we've been. And wherever you are in the world watching this, have a good day / evening.